welcome to the Reggaecy again, everyone, where we endeavor to preserve the legacy of reggae and dancehall. Again, it's a new week. We want to thank the new subscribers. We had so few more people subscribe to the channel. Thank you, we appreciate it. The more you subscribe, the more you comment, and the more it helps to build the channel. If you don't know, and you hear me just say it, you don't know why we are here. We're trying to preserve the legacy of reggae and dancehall. But not only that, when we do discuss topics, we try to go a little deeper and give our perspectives on things outside of music as well. As you know me, Oliver,
Shane.
I have Randy on the next end. The grey sweater. Well, look, the tough sweater, brother.
Cut it out, man. Cut it out.
No, man, it's tough, man. Anyway, welcome again, people. And we're going to just jump right into the topics this week.
Yeah.
This topic now is a old topic. We know how we all feel about old topic. It's kind of feel like a gossipy when you pick up old stuff that happened a long time ago. But recently, Sean Paul was on a show, right? He was on the Fix actually, and he did a show, and there were excerpts and certain things people took from the show. One of the issues the one thing they discussed that him and DMX had a falling out, right? And I'm gonna set it up before you guys get in. For the younger audience who don't know, or for people who don't really listen to hip hop, DMX was the biggest artist, I would say, hip hop artist in 1998 at the time. He had 2 albums out the same year, his first year was out. The biggest thing. Sean Paul was just starting to ascend or get some kind of recognition in the American culture. For a young audience, again, who don't know, Sean Paul became so big at one point. I felt like his sales were pretty close, no, very close to Jay-Z at the time, who was the biggest hip hop at that time. Now, they had a record together. And that record was Here Comes the Boom, Randy. Remember that record?
Right.
With Sean Paul, Mr. Vegas, our friend,
yeah,
and DMX.
Yeah, that was off a soundtrack, right? That was off Shutter, not Shutters, but it was off a soundtrack.
It could have been, but
Belly,
it also
off of the Belly soundtrack.
Yes, it was on the Belly sound. It was played in one of the scenes.
Yeah.
Right? When I think he did the murder. Yes. The scene where DMX flew to Jamaica and he assassinated the guy in the car. That was a record playing. But on top of that, that record was also on mixtapes. I remember that at that time, that was a big record on mixtapes that summer. Yeah. And at that time, the mixtape culture was huge in America as a hip hop artist. That's how you get recognized.
Right.
And I remember being so like, I was excited, delighted to see Sean Paul and Vegas on a mixtape because that did not happen. Right? So now, fast forward, I guess they did the record. At some point, they had some issue. You want to shed light on the issue, Randy?
All right. So from what has been said, it seems like on a later date, Sean Paul did another track, and DMX was enamored with it. He really loved the track. I wanted to jump on the track.
Right.
But him feel like him get the cold shoulder, the run around from Sean Paul, and that left like a bad taste in his mouth. Right? So that pretty much from there on.
So Sean Paul, just to touch upon the actual issue before we go deeper.
Yeah.
Sean Paul said he was not aware all these years that him and DMX had an issue. Where do you guys stand on that?
The exact words that I got, he said, I didn't even know he was vexed with me until years later. That are the exact words as far as quotes. Honestly speaking, so I'm gonna tell you, it can go either way, right? And it can go either way because I can even. All right, so talking about this specific DMX and Sean Paul, the miscommunication and everything that led to the soured relationship, right? I can tell you that sometimes you have people and around you, or whether friends or family or associates or people you work with, that they are very sensitive. People from different cultures as well, very sensitive to situations and very sensitive to things you do. Them not forget, very sensitive to how you treat them. You might not realize it, right? Um, it might be a little thing to you, but it's something huge to the other person. So doing that little thing that make somebody else feel slighted or shysted or whatever in any form sometimes can totally lead to the deterioration of a relationship. And when these small things, if not addressed early, tend to fester and turn into a beast, you know? So when Sean Paul said, I didn't even know he was vexed with me till years later, it kind of bring back to mind like him said them they have a good connection and then build them relationship based off of maybe the weed smoking part right and that part, right? But in my mind, I'm just saying that means if it turned out this way, that means you guys really did not have a connection or you guys were really not friends. And
Industry friends.
yeah, and because certain these little things, I think you would eventually pick up on. Not only shouldn't, you would eventually pick up on. Like for instance, if you're reaching out to me and me just I get the cold shoulder time after time, right? You have it now gonna take years for you to pick that up. If we are friends.
Yes.
Right? So these things are things and our subscribers, our people listening, viewers, tell us how you feel. Yeah. Right. And whether you feel right or wrong, it's negligible, you know what I mean? But from my perspective, if either me and Shane or Oliver have an issue and we can't communicate, and
it would take almost 20 years.
Yeah, it should.
Right.
And if I know something where, okay, yeah, you know what? Because there's compromise sometimes in these things, right? Okay, you know what? Me get your point. Say, for instance, Sean Paul, it's me get your point, and it did come off that way. Guess what? What can I do for work this out and make it up? But it didn't get that opportunity because, of course, the relationship or friendship or whatever that he thought he had with DMX, them never take enough time or interest enough to build it. So it end up turning into this big monster where, honestly, for me, maybe I jumped the gun, but for me, it's like feelings get hurt, right? And the deterioration of the relationship turned into DMX saying, you know, reggae lost me. Basically, I'm done with reggae. Fuck reggae music. Excuse my language. For those who don't like that kind of a thing, right? Yeah, so it's almost like him write off an entire culture, entire nation, you know, just because of a bad experience between Sean Paul.
So, well, I mean, for me, if one interaction or one scenario with one person get you to say, yo, I don't like this music or this genre or this country or whatever the case is, to me, that's that kind of a shallow way of thinking. You get what I'm saying? Because if I'm going to say, okay, I had an interaction with one American, for example, and then based on that interaction, I'm saying, you know, every American is this way or that way, or I don't like these people because of one interaction. That, to me, is not very sensible.
So
you get what I'm saying?
So you worry about that, Oliver, but me can address
No, I mean, I'm glad Shane brought it up, right? And because that was going to segue to my next topic or not next question. If one situation like that can cause a disagreement between DMX and Sean Paul, it definitely shows, and to the point where DMX can basically say, forget the whole genre, right? Shows that he wasn't invested in the genre that much anyway. And he was so slighted by the fact that he wasn't included on a single, right? To me, it shows a deeper issue there with the fact that this was not a native music, or that this was a guy that was popular within America. And that was going to segue me to my next question. Is that part of the reason why a lot of time dancehall or reggae artists don't get the complete shine here in America? Because there's some kind of opposition then from, no, not disconnect, but that's there, but opposition from the powers that be. And I'm back to what we were talking about last week with same slave mentality of fighting against each other. The fact that we're different. Because I felt that as much as times they worked with us sometime, I personally, and I want people to share how they feel, that they are sometimes concerned that we're going to overtake their spotlight. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel that at times when it comes to our artists coming here, especially Sean Paul, I think he specifically got, I think he was in a different space and he was so big that they couldn't block him or blackball him. But I think they tried to limit him to some degree.
That is true. Shane,
and not open all the doors to him.
Shane, if you want to talk about Oliver just come up first, but you can go if you want. But
I mean, to me, I'd say there are evidence of that. You know what I mean? In certain cases. There was a time where I felt like, for example, Popcorn and Drake, right? Back when I think Drake released the album, was it Views? I don't remember which one it was.
Views. With,
and Popcorn Controller, right? When Popcorn was supposedly on the controller for that track. But then it leaked, apparently, and then when the actual album came out, it was a substitute. You get me? So that to me would shed light on, what you call it, of there being a strong possibility of your theory based on that just that instance, right?
That is a fear.
Yeah, that is a feel like I'm gonna hold you off right here until I'm ready to.
Artists do that to artists. Period.
So
go ahead.
My simple answer to that is yes, you're onto something. Yes, it does exist. Yes, I've seen it numerous times here in America, in New York City, even not being an artist, right? It does exist, right? Actually, there is and I don't know why, I can't necessarily dig deep in the nitty-gritty to tell you exactly why it exists, because I can't speak from the perspective of an American born that feels that way. I can't speak. I would actually like them to come on here and have that conversation. But
why? Right.
Because the conversation need to be had. We need to know why it exists.
Right.
Let me give you a personal example of when something similar to that happened to me. So first and foremost, when you come to America, you start go high school here, is total culture shock, different from Jamaica. Total different. It's rewiring everything. Sometimes even the confidence that you may have had while going to high school in Jamaica is like that breakdown back from scratch and you have to start all over again. You're not confident in presenting yourself, you're not confident in doing a whole lot of things. Right. The thing is now, when interacting with some Americans, not all, but some, them tend to look at it like, them not gonna give you a shot. Them ridicule, them put you down. And sometimes what it is them look at our actions and how we function and do things as, say for instance, me and the Jamaican youth come from Jamaica. We in a Spanish class. Everything the teacher asks me about Spanish, me can answer the question. Them feel like me kiss ass. me suck up to this, me that, me blah, 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 all type of things, right? And there's a little bit of jealousy and envy there.
Yes.
I've experienced that. I've even experienced it to the extent of being in an English class and with an American, which shall remain nameless. I don't even know if he's still alive. I don't know. But God bless him and everything. I was doing well in the English class, right? He had asked me something, and you know, yard man style, I say, yo, my youth, what you think? You think my love, man? Like, oh, you gotta come ask me, you know, suppose so. Rather than, you know, but I guess the Caribbean or the Jamaica way of doing things. Yo, no, I'm not helping you, basically. Ask somebody else. Not realizing that he may have had an issue and take it seriously personal, and it boiled over into him basically disliking me and disliking all, whether it be Jamaican or Caribbean people. What turned out from that, Oliver? Because some of the things that I say, no matter how minuscule, it can turn into something big.
Yeah.
Just give me a second, let me explain. You know, a few days later, maybe the next day, if memory serves correct, you know, the youth show up at school and pull a 38 special for me in a class.
Crazy.
Seriously.
Wow.
And at that time, if I wasn't, I guess, savvy enough with my speech to make him feel like there's no threat there, I probably wouldn't be on the show. You understand? So sometimes people, we kind of need to understand that, yes, we as people, there are differences, but it doesn't mean that you're better than I am or I am better than you are. And we somehow need to, you know, build a bridge rather than break it down from scratch.
I'm glad you said build a bridge, because I just want to point, I think a big part of the issue is Americans, Black Americans in this country, they feel like they are on the outskirts. They've been marginalized for years and they have not been given a fair opportunity. And this is true. And I think they are left to feel like everyone comes from other country is projected in front of them. And then here comes Caribbeans, Africans, whoever, other Blacks, that is going to come and supersede or go around them. Now, when it comes to hip hop, I think they feel like this is probably entertainment is where most Black Americans, and I'm careful here, I'm not saying they're not professional Black Americans, there are, but a lot of the wealth comes from entertainment, either sports or music, right? And I think they feel like they've built this. Why should we let you come from your little island and take some of our resources and also get some of our sales? It's a fear. They're operating from a fear base. They can tell me otherwise if they disagree. Now, I find it, look at this. It's not very hard for an up and coming rapper to get a record with the biggest dancehall artists. We've seen it over and over again. Biggie was on a record with Supercat, Dolly My Baby. At the time, Supercat was a bigger artist than the Notorious B.I.G.
Definitely.
T.I. had a record, Bad Man, with Beanie Man.
Yeah.
At the time, Beanie Man was a bigger artist than T.I. He had another one with Gorilla Black. He had maybe 2 hits. Gorilla Black was not as big as Beanie Man at the time.
And at this point, you're mentioning Gorilla Black. A lot of people probably don't even know. I remember who that is. So, to your point, you're right. Continue, Alva.
No, right. No, so I'm just saying those are just a few. Now, try to have a dancehall artist get to the level of getting on a record with a big name hip hop artist. It's a much more difficult task. And even when you do it, you're not guaranteed that you're going to get access to their fan base or to the whole shebang, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just for go back to what we were saying, and then we let Shane jump in. I mean, at the end of the day, it seemed to me the bigger issue between DMX and Sean Paul is the politics within the business. People don't want to keep it real. People, it's an industry thing. The music business is not a real friend business. And more, go ahead.
Yeah, stick up in. This perfect example to segue into that we all at large know about. Perfect example. Timbaland and Swiss Beats and Versus gave us an opportunity, right? And we came on the Versus platform and we outshined. We really performed. We did our thing as Caribbean people, Bunty and Beanie, right? And honestly, based off of the back and forth with what people from our culture have been doing and everything and feeling slighted in some sense in comparison to other shows that either preceded or came after or whatever. The thing is, if you notice now, it almost seemed like, why should we give another Jamaican act a chance when them are come on our show, them are going outshine we, right? And then there's gonna be some back and forth. Even the same thing where Ludacris said, it's a mentality. Ludacris said. So I think
you got the back for them.
Exactly.
Jamaicans a while.
Yeah. So basically, if you do anything with a Jamaican and you know pay them or whatever, get some form of compensation, it's gonna be problems. So it's almost like them already have
stereotypes.
A stereotype against who Jamaican people are or Caribbean people are.
Because they really don't know us and we don't know them. And like you said earlier, the word bridge the gap, I think this is a bigger issue. And just for anyone who has listened this far, we try to point this out. The bigger issue is for us to start coming together, regardless of where we're from. There's enough platform, there's enough money, there's enough space for all of us. We can try to understand each other instead of just saying, oh, I'm done with reggae. I don't want to hear no more reggae.
I'm going to cut you again because this brings to mind. Shane, me might seem like me an overtalk, but it's because it bring up a whole heap of flashback of experiences from my youth growing up here in America, right? Personally speaking, again, when you come here, you realize that a lot of even the big artists, them notably, I'm gonna give one, Busta Rhymes, right? You have I think Buck from
G-Unit.
No man, not from G-Unit.
No.
From
Scarface.
Yeah, from them time there. Like from
Dwarf.
Oh yeah, OGC, original gun clappers, them you.
Did I say dwarf or midget? Or
yes,
what
yeah. Yeah, don't
little person.
Yeah. All right, so watch this. He's Jamaican. But until this point, a lot of these things we don't figure out because what happened in order for a lot of us Jamaicans are people from the Caribbean at that time to become successful. Another notable person, Funk Master Flex.
Heavy D. Biggie.
Watch it. The list goes on. In order for us to become successful, it's almost like you have to get rid of your roots. Don't show no sign of your roots. Yeah, it's like you have to cut that off and pretend to be someone else that you're not.
That you're an American.
Exactly. And a lot of people at the time didn't even know that a lot of these artists were not American. And I'm going to tell you this, and I know this for sure. If people had known that they weren't American, they wouldn't have had the success that
they did. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of it's a kind of thing like, like stop short of saying blackballed, but you're kept out or prevented. The opportunities get limited if you're not from the soil and them sure and know say, yo, you're American. And while that's sad, I think we have grown to a certain extent past that.
We've gotten better, yes.
Yeah, but there's still remnants of that still exists in the industry, in the music industry, that I can see a lot of artists are trying to build bridges and pave ways and fight and to grow past that. You know what I mean? Lack of a better term.
I could let Shane come in because I want him to give an example in a film situation, because for all the listeners who don't know, Shane was a musician, right? He did reggae and dancehall at some point. And I feel like a lot of what we saw, what we analyzed that occurred between DMX and Sean Paul is miscommunication as well as industry BS. So I want Shane to shed light on that, because I know other people and listeners out there probably are experiencing or see the same thing. But don't give up, but Shane, just touch upon that.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, what you both say makes sense on a wider scale, on a more general scope of, you know, the two cultures, you know, coming together and successfully fostering real relationships, right? So, I mean, one of the things about the situation was the case where I think it's a situation where, say, DMX, for example, felt that Sean Paul owed him an obligation to be featured on whatever track with him, because he had them featured on his track before, right? And whatever miscommunication and the runaround that he mentioned happened, and that DMX accused Sean Paul of giving him the runaround. He come back to the communication, and maybe they didn't have a real relationship per se. It was just a link up connection musically, where, you know, we vibe and whatever the case is, right? So we need to pay attention to that, right? And in my case now, cool, in certain different circumstances, but one case that stood out, right, was I didn't have necessarily have anybody around me to show me how this is done and teach me, me and them wing whatever. We just had good ideas, and we making, you know, doing the best to bring out those ideas at the time, right? Me and a few friends of mine from high school, right? Now we got a connect, you know, from somebody that I knew in Kingston, a young lady, and she was to connect us with a big producer at the time in Kingston, right? No,
big producer, right?
Yeah, big producer.
You're not gonna call.
You're not calling a name, no.
Because everyone knows this producer.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Household name producer, right? And I got the time of day, which was great. And basically, listen a few of the demo that I did, right? About 4 tracks, I believe. Now, these were songs that I did on this particular producer's rhythms, because at the time there were a lot of compilations. Every beat that comes out a rhythm in Jamaica, you have like a compilation of like 10, 12 artists on each rhythm, and that's how they were being done. Yep. So what they normally do is once a rhythm is released, or those tracks or compilation are released, they also have a rhythm, the instrumental, right? So that was available for you to download and listen to and DJ on, or whatever the case is. So that's what we were doing at the time as far as practicing and getting into the.
When you say we were doing, what were you doing? Using
the versions, as they would call it, the instrumentals.
No, I'm just saying for the artists.
You're right, and we sing and DJ on
over their beat that's already published.
Right, exactly.
But not for sale, right?
Not for sale,
just for,
because we didn't have any access to sell that kind of stuff. Anyway, just for like mixtape.
Because you can't use it for sale.
Exactly.
That's illegal.
It was just for sport then.
Right. So just for mixtape purposes, like, you're just recording and, uploading and whatever, sharing, right? So this now was a demo to say, okay, this is what I can do on your beats, or these are the ideas or the flows or whatever I have, that, for us, where we would be able, to work together. Now, I got some feedback, great lyrics, great flows, whatever. I need more vocal training, stuff like that, which was accepted, humbly accepted, because, you're the professional in this arena. I'm self-taught, everything at the time. So I said, all right, cool. And within the month, if memory serves me correctly, the producer released another beat, another rhythm. And throughout the rhythm, there were like samples throughout the whole rhythm. Right? In a sense that nobody can now DJ over this rhythm. If you get what I'm saying.
Right.
So the rhythm is playing. You don't have an instrumental as it used to be.
A clean
DJ on.
Right.
Exactly. You have like samples and vocalization all throughout the rhythm.
Yep.
To prevent
people from singing
singing over the rhythm and all of that. And to me, I didn't, I took it personal, obviously. You know what I mean? But then, during that same period of time, another compilation of like another rhythm coming out, and a compilation, and I heard songs on there that was trash. Right? And I'm going to be completely honest when I tell you that my music was a lot better than some of them that I heard. And, come to do more research and investigation, it was because these artists were able to show up with 100K or 50K and get a spot on the rhythm. Now, coming back to communication, if it was a case like, okay, you have a thing going on, like the sound, but here's the thing. You can pay for a spot on this compilation coming up. Then that would have been a conversation.
Instead of giving you
you shut it down, and I guess you made the assumption that, okay, you don't have any money, so whatever. Because maybe I would have shown up with money first instead of looking at the material, right? But instead of saying, okay, you know what, we can do some work if you have this amount of money. Fine, it's business, right? But instead, you start putting out instrumentals so that younger hopefuls or, other hopefuls who would like to just vibe on a beat or whatever the case is, won't have that opportunity anymore.
Yeah, prospective artists won't have that opportunity. So stick up in because you're pointing to something that I'm not gonna say I didn't know, but maybe a lot of people didn't know this. Right? So you tell me, say artists did have to pay for the pan rhythm?
Obviously. I mean, I guess it depends on who you are.
That's still a go on.
Because it may be a case where as a producer.
Oliver.
I think it goes both ways.
Hold on now.
And let me tell you why.
It goes both ways, and what's pick up in. You hear when I just ask you, and you hear the response I get. The response to me I get from Onin and the feedback I get from both you and Shane is like, yeah, of course it exists.
But it should though, in my opinion.
It should
be on the producer rhythm. Because in America, if you're gonna be on a record, you gotta pay for the beat, right?
Hold on. But in a sound from a person, say for instance, I'm not from a musical background.
But you're not paying for, in this case, you're not paying for the beat, you're paying to be on the compilation.
Right.
Okay. So, like I said, coming from, say for instance, if I'm a layman and I don't understand that, I would feel like that is ridiculous for me to pay to be, especially, say for instance, if you're a person that believe in yourself and feel like what you bring to the table is great, right? Why should I have to pay to do to enhance or make better what you have produced? Yes, you produce the beat, but it's almost like you're negating my talent. Like it's almost like
I think.
Well, let me just say it go both ways.
Go both ways.
And this is why I'm saying that. Say you are an established
Artist.
producer in this case, right? You're an established producer. You're putting out a new rhythm. Me as an upcoming artist, nobody knows who I am. Nobody's going to listen to your compilation just because I'm on it. I will be paying you for a chance to be on that compilation. Now, say Oliver, for example, is a Jay-Z level artist. You as a producer is going to pay Oliver to be on that beat because he's now going to bring his millions of fan base to your beat, to your compilation.
Right.
So it goes both ways depending on where you are on the chart.
But even though you pay it, there still is an artist split. They still fill out a contract. So the artists still get their percentage for the vocals.
Right.
But you pay upfront to get on the rhythm. I mean, to me, some people complain about it, but otherwise, how would a producer make money?
Yeah, I don't think anything is wrong with that, and that was not my issue. My issue is we did not even have that conversation.
Yeah, and my issue with it is I feel like, while I'm not have no objections to what I said, I feel like in this sphere of things, it's extremely limited. It's extremely limited. But guess what? A part of the business, so I get there's nothing we can necessarily say about it because nothing I say here on this medium and on this platform, I got change that. So I'm not fight.
Right. Well, I'm glad we touched upon it, and I don't want to spend too much more time on this topic because it's such a old issue, but we wanted to dig on the deeper issues surrounding that topic.
The only thing we want to say before we go, if you're about to segue into something else, is that as far as communication is concerned and building relationship and bridges, people understand this, whether you're curious or not, right? Hurt feelings, if not addressed, can fester and turn into a beast, turn into something else, right? So, like I said, while some may not care, the person that feels slighted, it may end up come back around for bite it if you not try address it and try. Sometimes whether pacify it, yes or no. And it's not every situation you're gonna be able for pacify. But again, hurt feelings, if not addressed, can fester and turn into something nasty. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, man. So that's a good way for segue into the next topic, actually.